Good morning. I am making a pair of socks today for my husband, and I am going to do a 7x1 rib on the cuff with a hung hem using my 64 needle cylinder. So I have to take out every 8th needle before I hang the sock bonnet. And I'm just going to go around and pull them up. Thought that was wrong. It is early in the morning, so maybe I can't count yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That was wrong. Which makes that one wrong. Okay. So we'll go ahead and take those needles out. And we'll get our sock bonnet hung. I'm going to use the heel spring on the hung hem, but then I'll take it off for the rest of the leg. Okay, we'll start hanging this. The yarn that I'm going to use today is Regia, and it's kind of a charcoal gray. I'm sure it just has a color number. Color 522. And this is what it looks like. Just kind of a nice heathery charcoal, which will make socks that are appropriate for him to wear to work. He always wears dark pants and a button-down shirt, so that will be fine for him. I had put out a sock order form to some of our friends saying that if they wanted to pay for the yarn, I would make them a pair of socks just because I need practice. I'm not really in the business of selling socks, but I do need practice, and if they want some socks, if they want to pay for the yarn, then I'll make them for them. So I asked everybody if they wanted, you know, their shoe size and everything, and just like I did for my family members, I asked if they wanted short cuff, long cuff, if their calves were wide or not, if they wanted bright or if they preferred more neutral colors. And every single one of them said neutral. I was kind of disappointed because I have a lot of bright yarn. I didn't have very much neutral, so I had to get some neutral. Okay, now I'm threading the waste yarn through the mast, coming down. This is waste yarn that I'm reusing, and it's currently attached to my other sock bonnet. So I'm just pulling it off of there rather than pulling it off and putting it into a ball and using it again. I'm just using it directly from the the sock bonnet. And I'm pulling down on my sock bonnet so that I can get that started. And now I have to hang the rest of my needles here, or hang the rest of my loops on my needles. Now I will add the weight, which this sock bonnet is long enough that my needles can, or that my buckle can connect directly to the bonnet, and I don't have to have a ring on the bottom of the bonnet to attach my weight to. I can just attach it directly to the bonnet, which makes for less work later on. Some bonnets are made this way, where there is a bonnet with a ring on the bottom and you start off hanging the weight to that. And other bonnets are just long tubes and you can attach the buckle to the long tube. And again, this is the one that has the waist yarn attached to it. So I'll continue to knit around on that, make sure everything's knitting correctly. This needle here was not quite right, but it should be now. Have to kind of look at things from all sides to make sure that everything is going correctly. Now this is the first time that I have used this Regia yarn, so I'm hoping the tension setting for it is about the same as Opal, but that's why I'm making a pair for my husband first. So this is the guinea pig pair. Okay. So now I'm going to put in 1 round of ripcord so that we can easily separate the bonnet and waist yarn from the project yarn once the sock is finished. And I've got this blue fishing cord, or fishing line, but it is kind of a cord, it's a braided line. Done 1 round with that, and now I will thread my project yarn through the mast and we'll get started with that. I think it's going to be pretty close to the opal, but you never know for sure until you use it. They can look very much the same and not knit the same, as you all know from hand knitting. Or maybe not all of you know, but those of you that are hand knitters, okay, now this first round of the hung hem, I am not going to have the heel spring on because I'm going to need to hang that hem, and it's just a bit easier to hang when there's not as much tension on it. Okay, now I'm going to engage my heel spring and set my counter. I've already gone around 1 round, so I'm going to flip that to 1, and then I'm going to go 30 rounds. 25. Okay, here we are at 30. I'm going to disengage my heel spring so that I don't forget to do that later. I'm going to take off my weight and we're going to hang that hem. I've still got my buckle on, but that usually is fine. I'm going to do my first 7 starting, I know where the 7th loop is, and I'm going to work backwards on those because I have sometimes started with the wrong one. And that 7th loop is the one that where there wasn't a needle in between. So okay, I will say already this yarn, I'm going to take the heel buckle off. It seems a little more likely to split than the opal. Okay, so there's the first needle. Now we're going to move on and around the cylinder. I never really enjoy hand knitting in black or extremely dark colors because it's hard to see, but since the machine is doing the knitting, it should be better this way, right? Okay, and now that I've gotten started, these are not seeming to split and it's not any harder to hang than normal. Once I get these all hung, I will do 70 rounds for the leg. Or I'm going to go 65 rounds and then I'll add the other needles back in for the pre-heel and do 5 rounds of just stocking out with all the needles in, and then I'll start the heel. So 65 is the magic number that we will go to. Okay, just got one more loop to hang and then I'm going to have to add my weight back on and knit around a bit so that these needles here, which are down in the cylinder right now, will be exposed. Got my buckle on and my weight. And the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to E-wrap this tail onto these first few needles so that I don't have to work that yarn end in later. Thank you, Karen Rommel. Okay, so I'm going to go slowly through those first few. They're going to be a little bit tighter just because of that. And then I'm going to snip that yarn tail off so I don't look at it and wonder later on. Okay, now these needles are back up. So I am going to hang the rest of these loops. I did not take the bottom buckle off, and I think I'll be able to get these just fine with that on still. It does have a little bit of weight to it, but not a lot. Finding that last loop is always, not always, but sometimes a bit of a trick, but it is fine. I'm going to reset my counter to 0, and I'm going to go to 65, and then I'll add the needles back in. I'll be watching these to make sure that the stitches lay down on the cylinder here, which means my tension is okay. And so far so good on that. I'm going to move my buckle up just a little bit so it's actually hanging on the sock rather than the bonnet. We're at 54 right now, so a few more to go until we get to our 65. Okay, so we're going to start adding these needles back in, and when we add the needles back in, we also have to pick up a loop from the adjacent needle and hang it onto that needle to avoid having a hole there. So I'll get all the needles in that I can, and then I will pull the loop up and put it on that needle to avoid the hole. Okay, that's all that I can do for right now because of the cam here, preventing me putting some of the needles in. But I'm going to lift up the loop from the adjacent stitch, one row down, and put that loop up on the needle. You will be able to see where this is done when the sock is finished, but you won't have a gaping hole there. No lace on these men's socks. Okay. So that's all I can do so far, so I'm going to just come around here and get the rest of these in. I think there's just 2 more that I have to do. Okay. Double checking all of them to make sure that I'm not missing any, because I have done that before. Okay, so 5 more rounds and then we will begin the heel. Okay, so we're going to stop here at 6 o'clock and we're going to lift the back stitches, or the back needles. So when you lift the needles, they do not knit. So I'm taking them out of work so that I can go back and forth on this section and turn the heel. I do need to re-engage my heel spring for this. So that is on. And I'm going to go over here to the back and come all the way around. Lift one needle on the right. Come back. Lift one needle on the left. We're going to go back and forth until we get to these 2 purple marks, and the last 4 needles we're going to lift 2 at a time. I'm also going to stick a marker on the very first needle that I lifted, because when I'm going the other direction I need to stop at that point. Right now I'm kind of holding onto the tube underneath the machine, and I haven't put a heel spring or a heel fork on. I have put the heel spring on, which is up at the top, but I haven't used my weight, my heel weight down here yet. I'm going to put my heel weight on, which I use this V hook. And I put that pretty much under my end of my turning point for the heels. And then there's a weight that hangs on it too. And we're doing that because there's extra fabric here in the heel as you go back and forth that isn't on the other side. So you need some downward pressure on that. That is there. I'm going to have to raise that needle on the right. Raise the corresponding needle on the left. Whoops, just didn't go back quite far enough that time. There we go. That is one nice thing about this machine. If you see you didn't do something correctly, and you can turn around and go the other way and get that fixed. Okay, now we're lifting 2 on the right. This gives a more rounded heel or toe. Okay, so we're ready to start our increases. So I'm going to put 2 down on the right, not putting these down quite as far because we want to make sure that the latches catch. Okay, 2 down on the left. Two down on the right, and then after this, after we do these on the left side, then we're going to be 1 needle each direction. I could see that the stitches were riding up a little bit on the needles, which means I need to move my fork up a bit. Left. I feel like I'm getting into the danger zone where sometimes I have an issue. So I'm just being very careful and deliberate as I go back and forth and watching what is happening. This yarn, knock on wood, seems to be working very well in the machine. Okay, this is my last one that I'm lowering on the right. Have a drop stitch I did because my recording stopped, so I'm not sure exactly when that happened, but I am on the toe and I'm ready to put my V-hook on to give some downward pressure on the toe. Okay, I've already raised my needle. Okay, now we're to the point where there's just 4 left on each side, so I raise 2 together. We'll do 2 together on this side, on the left side. This is the last two that we're lifting. And then the next, now we're going to start increasing, so we'll start lowering the needles to work more each time. Now we're done with the 2 at a time. We're back to 1 at a time. I do need to mark where we need to stop, which is the first needle raised. That one right there. Okay, this will be the last one on the right. And the last one on the left, and we're going to stop at 6 o'clock so that we can lower all the back needles. Okay, remove that. We're going to lower the needles down. And we're going to double check them all to make sure that all of the latches are down. If we need to raise them up a little bit, we can do that. So we're going to go to the 3 o'clock starting position, and then we're going to do one more round. Stop right there. I'm going to cut my yarn, but I'm going to have to Kitchener this up, so I need to leave myself a little extra yarn for that. Pull that through, and then we're going to knit a few rounds with waste yarn. I've got a ball of waste yarn here. It does have a little knot in it, but I'm going to pull that to the inside of the cylinder. Oops. See, I've got this yarn wrapped around the needles there. We don't want that. This is a small ball, so I'm just going to go until it runs out. And then once it runs out, we'll just crank this sock off of the cylinder. When you crank around and there's no yarn attached, the knitting just will fall off the needles. So I'm going to hold on to my sock down here and the weights so that they don't hit the floor or hit my foot. I'm removing the weights. Putting the heel fork and the buckle. And now we have a sock with a mock rib and a heel and a toe. And the toe has to be Kitchenered up, but basically it closes up where this waist yarn is. And then it's a toe. Thank you for watching. Bye.